Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to take a look at what these small people that Einzul or rather Sheltir has recently captured actually are. But before we do so, I say thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel. Also thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. And also please check out my Fantasies channel. You will find a link down to it in the description. Now with that said, the Moleman people, known as the Quagoar, are a subterranean demi-human species. Now, in order to contextualize this, let me briefly explain what demi-humans actually are. Back in the game world of Yggdrasil, there were three distinct main branches of species. The first were the humanoids, so basically humans, elves, dwarves, and the halflings, so half-elves, half-dwarves, and whatever you call a combination between elves and dwarves. And all humanoids have one thing in common: they can't have species-specific classes, and they must spend all of their skill points into job classes. Then there were demi-humans, often beast-like beings like for example the lizard men or the rabbit men we know from the 4th episode of the 4th season. Trolls and goblins, aka species we know from the 3rd season, also fall into this category. They often have greater strength, but somewhat lower intelligence compared to humanoids and heteromorphs. But this doesn't mean that demi-humans can't be smart. For example, goblins, lizard men, and even Quagoar exist who are smart. And quite a bit more than some other leaders. And speaking of our overlord, finally there are the heteromorphs, which are basically everything else that doesn't fit into either of the two categories. For example, the angels, the Sunlight scripture used, are of the heteromorphic race. By the way, hetero means just different, other, and in this context not uniform. And then there are automatons, like Shizo Delta, who also falls into this category. Demons like Demiurge or his evil lords also fit into this category as well, along with the undead, such as our own beloved overlord Einzul. And most of them have, generally speaking, a fairly negative karma value, due to being considered naturally evil, such as demons, devils, or the undead. Now, with all of that said, there's also quite an optical overlap between the three branches. For example, Lupus Regina Beta is a lycanthrope, meaning that she has a normal humanoid, human-like form, which makes her pass for a human on first glance, except for her ears. But hey, she can always claim that she was cursed or, from my perspective, blessed with them. But she also has a second form, which is that of a great wolf, which would give the impression of being a beastman initially. So the three main families of species are biologically distinct, but it is sometimes hard to tell them apart via looks alone. This goes double for the greater doppelganger, such as Pandora's Actor or Naber al-Gamma, hence why the battlemate can pass as human and not just as a humanoid. Now lastly, thus far not even Demiurge could create offspring between these species, while elves and humans can have half-elf children. For example, Irmina, a human and a doppelganger for example, could not, which also means that humans can't have children with Lupus Regina Beta and Naber al-Gamma, even if they weren't NPCs of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. I know, quite sad. Another example of this would be the goblins and Enri can't have children together, so we are definitely not in the Goblin Slayer universe here. So my point I'm trying to make here is that Overlord has not only literally hundreds of different species in it, but there's also a very complex biological distinction between the three main branches all of them fall into. Now lastly, it is possible for species to change their order. For example, a human could become a heteromorph if the right conditions are met, or an undead could become human again, although it would take significant effort and some fairly rare item. And with all of that said, let's now finally take a look at the Quagoar, for the Quagoar are beastmen. They are bipedal beings that can also very well move on all fours. They are not only resembling bigger and way buffer moles, but they also live in underground caverns, caves, tunnels, and burrows. In their overall physics, they are pretty similar to dwarves, meaning that they are short, standing at only 140 centimeters tall, and quite well and sturdy built, having way more muscle than a comparably sized human, and they weigh around 70 kilos, though individual specimens can be larger or smaller than the average. With their sharp talons on hands and feet, they are able to dig and fight, and they also should have some of the strongest backbone for a species of their size in the entire Overlord universe, considering how physical taxing moving Earth with just their claws is. They also have quite an interesting biological quirk. All Quagoan young are dependent on the metals that they ingest in their youth and adolescence in order to determine their later physical strength, power, and appearance. Stronger Quagoa, aka those who had been fed more and considerably rarer metals, might display blue chest hair, or red or even any other color, often corresponding to the metal that they have been fed in their childhood. And being metal-digesting demi-humans, the Quagoa also have a very tough skin and hair. They are basically built like a Wolverine, but thanks to their metal inside their body, they are also quite comparable to the Wolverine. Their skin, bones and fur is so strong that normal metal weapons have trouble causing any damage at all, while weapons made of wood or ice or sunlight won't have these problems, which also suggest a magical component in their defenses. But in turn, they also suffer from a considerable weakness against lightning-based damage, something that the dwarves that defend against their ever-increasing onslaught knew and exploit. Now all of this awards the Quagoan with another advantage. While dwarves and humans for that matter need to forge, maintain and sometimes runecraft weapons and armor, the Quagoans are quite literally born with both. In their natural state, the Quagoa form family and kinship clans. They, as many other demi-human species, are respecting the strong and follow them into battle. That again is not to say that they are devoid of reason. Strategies, tactics, or even things like loyalty or bravery, all the way to a heroic death, is something that all Quagoans are potentially capable of. Furthermore, they can also adapt technology and economic practices of other species. For example, the Quagoan living under the Isilesian mountains have used their dwarven prisoners in order to teach them agriculture and the usage of pack and farm animals. They also lack magic casters, but they could make up for it by actually having access to facilities and institutions where magic is fought, at least to a degree, since they, in contrast to, let's say, dragons, lack any innate magical talents. And finally, they are a relative low-tech civilization because they live rather isolated from the wider developed nations. And since they don't need tools and forges to smelt or build weapons, or to burrow, they lack impulses from within their own society to advance technological, but they could significantly more develop under the right circumstances. And the unification of their tribes into a single federation has proven this already. And with that said, next time we will take a look at the leader of the Quagoa, the one that united the clans into one single tribe. But for today, this is it. And I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Bedgar Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Duckwagon, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Legendarius, Lelouch V. Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Q, Naker Cos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon under my next video.